My 34F late dad gave all his and my mom's money to his mistress, and my chronically ill mom doesn't know yet. My mom, 78F, had a stroke around 3 years ago that left her intellectually disabled and partially paralyzed. My dad, 77M, was not sick but suddenly had a heart attack 1 year ago and then, 3 weeks ago, had another one and was rushed to the hospital where he died a few hours later. The revelation that the call to 911 was placed at 2 a.m. from the apartment of a 31-year-old woman was the start of many revelations regarding my father's doings. My dad got power of attorney over my mother after her stroke, and I was named as the successor agent. And I immediately wanted to make sure that matters concerning my mother's would continue to be taken care of. I had hoped that a sexual affair would be the end of it, but after looking extensively into his computer and phone history, as well as me compiling bank statements, investment and other asset information, I nearly doubled over in shock. Messages to this woman began 6 years ago, before my mom's stroke, and when I knew for a fact that my mom looked like an infatuated teen. Whenever my father was around, she loved the man more than life. He was already investing in her during the first few years' purchases at Neiman Marcus and Cartier, electronically sending her a few $100s every couple of weeks. It picked up rapidly after my mom's stroke. There are references to a second phone with more information, but it seems he got rid of the phone after my mom struggled with paralysis because he figured he didn't need it. His collection of pricey memorabilia was gone. He sent disgusting emails about how he wished my mom was gone because she just sits and stares at him. There were fights where she wouldn't see him because he could not marry her. He answered by calling her his spiritual wife and that all he had was at her disposal. He made it possible for her to finally attend college. She was from another country and could not afford more than 1 year of community college before she met him. He paid for all 4 years of a for-profit college for her, including a study abroad program. He withdrew money like a madman from all sorts of accounts, including investment accounts my mother had started with money from her inheritance and a successful freelance business she had started in her 50s. A lot of money was put on credit cards for expensive vacations, jewelry, luxury car dealerships. Also a bunch of transactions to a short-lived nutrition consultant business registered under her name that is now inactive. To sum it up, when all is said and done, not counting the house, my mom and dad had assets of around $2 million. Some of those funds were in investment accounts that would have grown if my dad had not plundered them. Many credit cards had been closed down, and my mom's caretaker confessed that my dad often paid late or partially. She asked me if I could pay the full balance of what was past due because otherwise she couldn't keep staying. Their credit is trashed. And the worst part is the fact that I found out the forever home has an underwater mortgage. About half funds he got from the mortgage were slowly withdrawn over years, while the other half was to keep himself afloat from all the spending. That other half is now dwindled, and my mom doesn't realize that she could not just lose the house, but still owe on the house while being homeless. The only redeeming fact seemed to be that my dad's life insurance beneficiary was still my mom, except for the fact that he stopped paying into that policy, so it lapsed. So basically, before taxes and the costs of having to pay to bury my father, as well as the hospital somehow already going after us for medical bills, we have around $30,000. My mother's caregiver costs nearly $3,000 a month. And I do not want to get started on the mortgage. My two older brothers told me that they had kids and wives so they couldn't care for our mother, and I had the ultimate authority on what to tell our mothers regarding our dad. They also said they do not have money to spare, so I needed to ask my fiancé whether we should contribute. My fiancé and I barely have any to spare, but of course we don't want my mom to be homeless or lacking care. However, everybody around me is telling me that I shouldn't spoil my mom's love for my dad by making her think he spent all their money and have that be her last memory. I am conflicted because I will need to pick up the caregiving slack, and while my mom has trouble comprehending sometimes with big things like whether or not a family member is dead or not, or whether or not a caregiver is there, she understands perfectly. She also, I believe, retains emotional intelligence, so she can always read me. What do I do? My brothers even suggested I lie and say that an investment advisor went rogue and tanked my mom's funds, but what would I do if we really ended up being unable to pay for the large mortgage anymore? What is more, I tried hiring a private investigator to help recover the funds from the woman, and she seems to no longer be in the state with no real assets or employment listed, and we suspect she may attempt to leave the country or may even have already, since she has citizenship over there.